Today's episode is sponsored by Anchor. My cousin recommended this app to me, and I thought this was an app about boats or anchors for sale or something, but Anchor is a completely free and easy way to start your own podcast. All of the tools are laid out for you from recording to editing to even adding voice messages from listeners. You can also podcast from your phone or computer. Wait, there's more. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it could be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more services. No tedious individual uploading and sharing. And the best part, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Anthony, and welcome to Let Me Be Frank. If you didn't listen to the trailer of this new show, this is the first episode. Pretty much the main premises of the show is just open and honest discussions. And today's topic is transgender dating, and we have a very special guest. Her name is Emmy Morgan. She is a podcaster. She is the author of The Ice Princess and the Family Portraits, and she is a trans activist. Hello, Emmy.
Hi, darling.
I'm so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for honoring me with being the first guest of your podcast. This is amazing.
I feel like it's only appropriate because you were the first podcast I guest starred on and did a few times. I mean, it's only fitting.
Yeah, I really love having you because you just bring such a freshness that I just can't get myself sometimes. And hearing another person's point of view, especially somebody much younger than me because I'm much older than you, it's nice. It's really nice. So.
No, I think it's definitely cool, to hear different points of views on things, and I'm definitely excited for this. So, yeah. I don't know if we're going to have younger viewers or not on here, but there may be some people out there that don't know what transgender is. So I saw that according to dictionary.com, transgender is noting or relating to a person whose gender identity does not correspond to that person's biological sex assigned at birth. And I just wanted to share. So I don't think I ever told you this because I don't think we ever had this I don't think I was part of this topic ever on your podcast because I just, I wouldn't be the best guest, but I've had a dream a couple times in my life, and it's just a silly dream where it's so weird, and it's weird that it happened multiple times. I was like, I was sick of my current life or something. Like, it seemed so real, and I wanted like a fresh new start, so I faked my own death. And my mom knew about it. She was the only one, and people were like heartbroken. But then I had this new identity, and my first name was Marie, and my last name was my current last name, and I was like a cousin, which I only am close to a few cousins. So this just it was not the best dream plan,
right?
I can say.
It's fine.
But I was Marie, and this was like my new life. And then a friend found out that I was originally Frank, and it was just weird. This dream's happened a couple times. So yeah, that was just my little tidbit. Besides that, I absolutely have no experience when it comes to, I understand this topic to a degree, but I feel like someone like you, Emmy, would obviously understand this a lot more, and that's why you're here. And we definitely have, some questions for you so that you can let the audience know that might not be so familiar with the topic.
Yeah. And also, I want people to know, like, there's no rule book to transitioning. Unlike in the gay world, especially the gay ballroom scene, I don't have like a trans mom. I don't have like trans brothers and sisters, like a house, somebody to teach me makeup and stuff. I learned everything that I learned about being trans on my own, through my own personal experiences. So everybody's free to write their own story. And about your dream, I actually used to have a recurring dream. Not that I died, but that I was a girl. And then, of course, I transitioned. But so your dream could mean two things, honestly. Actually, it could be more than two, but two that come to mind are, number one, sometimes dreams are not literal. So, yeah, you dreamt that you were this girl and blah, 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 but maybe it's just you connecting with your internal feminine energy. And it's not that you want to be a woman, but you're just like connecting with a feminine energy. Because the thing about being gay, which obviously I know about because I was gay for 38 years, when you're gay, you're put into one of two categories, obviously: masculine energy or feminine energy. And when you're feminine, people treat you kind of like a girl. So maybe you feel like you're a feminine man and you should be a woman, is the other takeaway. Either one of them. I mean, like I said, there's a host of things that in between those two variables, but it doesn't necessarily mean you want to transition anytime soon. Like, it can mean so many things. So I wouldn't get hung up on it, obviously.
That makes me feel a lot better about it, because when I would wake up from those dreams, I had to kind of question for a second, is this more internal than I'm thinking? Like, is this just a dream that I'm just like overthinking? Like, what is going? Like, I had to question it for a second.
I'm gonna say yes to everything you just said, because I'm not one of those people who believes everybody is gay and everybody is trans. I truly 100% believe if you are heterosexual, or if you are, well, let's just stick with heterosexual. You have had to, at one point in your life, for one blinking moment, you had to have thought, could I be with a dude? And then said, nope, that's not for me. You had to have. How else would you know that you're not gay? Or if you were a woman, you had to have said, could I be with a woman? No, not my thing. You had to have thought of it. It had to have run through your mind. So maybe at some point in your life, you were like, could I be a chick? And it's your subconscious saying, yeah, it probably wouldn't work out because look at all these problems. Or it would. I'm not going to steer you into whatever path, but it was obviously on your brain. So does it mean anything? Who knows? Who the frick knows? The mind is such a crazy thing. And for all those people wondering, if you still don't get transgender, I have a really good way of telling people what transgender and all these other terms are. So transgender is, you don't want to change your sex. You were born a boy. You don't want to become anything but a boy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're cisgender, that means you were born a boy and you want to become a boy, or you want to still remain a boy. Take that and flip it. Flip it in the opposite direction. You have a strong desire to become a girl. That's transgender. Cisgender, transgender. I'm not sure what cisgender means, but transgender is a combination of transitioning into another gender. It's just broken down to transgender.
Yeah.
So transitioning into a man is a trans man, and transitioning into a woman is a trans woman. Maybe that will help people remember. Please, please, please.
No, it's definitely a good breakdown.
Please, please, please don't call us transgenders, people, because we're not transgenders. We're not transsexuals. It's trans man or trans woman. So, because transgenders, it's not offensive. It's just it sounds weird. Like, oh, I know a friend. I have a couple of transgender friends. Is okay, but my friend Emily is a transgender. Ugh, sounds weird.
Well, I was gonna say, is that something that is offensive to some
I mean, it's
people?
not offensive. It's just when you say transgenders, or you say somebody is a transgender, it just you sound uneducated. Like you're there, but you're not there. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
so just make sure that you have the proper. Not, I don't think anyone's gonna get offended by it. It's just if you are saying that you're open to everybody's differences, the gender identities, be open to our language as well. It's either you're fully in or you're not. Being in the middle is weird, you know? So, woman, trans man, I have friends that are transgenders. That's fine. But yeah. Okay, off my
Okay, yeah,
soapbox.
no, that's good to I was saying I know we can talk on
Yeah.
for a while. But no, that's definitely, yeah, that's good to know. I think there are a lot of people that are in that middle confusing because I think a lot of people do want to accept
Mm-hmm.
others and love each other, but so like they're starting that path and then yeah, like stuff gets lost in
Mm-hmm.
translation. They don't fully connect to that other side of
Right.
the bridge.
Exactly.
So thank
You're
you for
welcome.
that extra clarification. So well, that means I have to rephrase a little bit. Because now that I'm rereading this, it does sound better to say trans woman.
Oh, it's
So
fine. It's
thank
fine.
you. So being and now these
Mm-hmm.
questions that I came up with, these aren't like questions I was pondering. These are questions that I have
Mm-hmm.
heard through the LGBT community, through the heterosexual community. Like these are just questions I feel like that have
Mm-hmm.
come up throughout. So this first
Yep.
question is: being a trans
Mm-hmm.
woman, do you date men who identify as gay, as straight, as bisexual, etc.? Like,
So
what's
I
the
didn't mind your question because it actually makes perfect sense. So transgender is a sexual or is a gender identity. What I like as far as what I date and stuff is a sexual orientation. When I became transgender, it did not change my sexual orientation. I think a lot of people get that confused. They were really confused with Caitlyn Jenner because Caitlyn Jenner
yes?
was always transgender. In her heart, she was always a trans woman. When she transitioned, people thought, oh, well, she's going to date men. No. When you become a woman, it doesn't mean you date men. Hello, you guys have heard of lesbians, right? She always dated women. She never dated men. She, I think, on her show tried to go on a date with a man, and she was just like, yeah, no, it's not for me. So, me personally, as a feminine trans woman, I date men, whether they are um, heterosexual or bisexual or pansexual. And I want
Okay.
everybody to realize this. I do not date gay men. Gay men like other men. I'm not a man. Gay men don't like boobs. They don't like vaginas. So they can't like me. So I just want that clear.
I I'm happy I'm happy you made that clear because so I've heard a
Yes.
lot of the I've heard that I
It's
just
okay.
lost it for a second. I've heard people say things like, "Oh, like yeah, like straight or men who identify as straight, they can't date
Mm-hmm.
trans women. Like it has to be gay men that go for them and stuff because they were
Right.
originally a man." And I feel like that's definitely a misconception. And I've also heard when you were talking about
Mm-hmm.
Caitlyn Jenner, I've heard I've heard so many people be
Yes.
confused about just oh well, if someone is born female and they're transitioning to male, why would they ever date another male? Like I've heard
Yeah.
that a lot, and I do like that you
Yeah.
clarified that as well, because it's just more, it doesn't always have to be so like
Right.
connected like that. It's like you said earlier, yeah, it's not about just the orientation
Right.
of others.
And guys, when we
Like
take
this
our
is
hormone pills and when we get our surgery, some of us don't get surgery, but when we do, it's not like a magical thing where it's like, okay, I have testosterone as a man, I'm taking estrogen. Oh wow. Suddenly I love shoes. Suddenly I, you know, like going to the beauty shop. Suddenly every trans woman is totally different. When I say I'm feminine, I don't mean that I wear bows in my hair and wear strapless ball gowns. I just mean that feminine meaning I try to present femininely. I never want to say that I'm passable. Passable is so offensive. When someone says to me, "Oh,
that is
you're passable as a woman," I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm not trying to pass as a woman, because guess what? If you guess that I'm transgender, Ed McMahon doesn't rise from the grave to give you a prize. You don't get an award for that. If you guess that I'm trans, you get nothing for that. Okay? I don't care if you know that I'm trans. I really don't. I'm trying to be myself. Period. End of story. I don't use the money that I use for my transition doesn't come from your pocket, or your pocket. So I don't understand why people have a problem sometimes, but that's another story.
I mean they're not thinking of
Yeah.
the whole picture. I can't believe people actually said you're passable.
So okay, I think that some heterosexual people that are cisgender, because I want to put those two together, because technically, if I'm a trans woman and trans women are women, I'm technically heterosexual, but I want to put the cisgender in front of it. Cisgender
Okay.
hetero people, I'll give you a breakdown of some of the things they've said to me. Oh my God, you look like a woman. I couldn't tell until you talked. I just thought your voice, like you smoked a lot. So I didn't realize that you weren't born a woman. Um, from the back, oh my God, so much like a woman.
Wow.
From the front, yeah, I guess I could see that. Um, what else did they said? Oh, there are real women that have deeper voices. Um, you look like a real woman. Trying to think what else they've said. So many things. Oh, one guy, he was with his friend at the grocery store. I was getting in my car and I could hear, "Nah, I think that's a girl. No, I think it's a dude. Nah, I think it's a girl." So I looked over and I go, "Hi, guys." And they just like froze. I'm like, "Have a nice day." And then I got in my car and I drove off. That was fun to hear.
That's very
Eh,
rude and inconsiderate.
it tells the world, anybody who saw them, it showed their character more than it showed mine. So I'm not worried. As long as they don't touch me and approach me, I'm fine. So,
On
mhm.
on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so we will be right back. Welcome back to Let Me Be Frank. So we're gonna go right
Okay.
into the next question, okay? All right. So, and this one I'm curious about because I know there are probably
Mhm.
tons of them. Well, what is at least one myth about dating someone who is transgender?
One myth is that all trans women want to get bottom surgery. which would then
That's
which
it.
would
That's
then make
interesting.
them fully, quote, women in everybody's eyes. There are some
Hmm.
trans women who are non-op, which means non-operative. They never want to get it for whatever reason. That's their personal reason. And I'm going to tell you, and I know that I sent you screenshots before, there have been guys on Bumble, I'm going to name it, Bumble, that said, I
Ugh.
saw that your profile said trans woman. Do you still have it? And I said, have what? I know what they're talking about. You
Wow.
know, it. I'm like, sass? Yes, I have tons of sass. And like, no, did you get the operation? I go, what operation are you referring? And they said the bottom operation. And I said, not yet. I am I am pre-operative, which means I'm going to be getting the surgery. Post-operative means you've already had the surgery. So they've said to me, you know, I think I would rather date you if you didn't get the surgery.
I
And
remember you
so I
telling me
said, you are
that.
not going to tell me what I can and cannot do to my own body. Goodbye. Then there are guys that have said, hope you're sitting down for this. Call,
I am. I'm stroking
call
my
me
leg.
when you're done and when you've had the surgery. Save my number because I'll take you on a date then. Kid you not.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I can believe it. I want to say I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe it, but
So
I can believe it.
the
People are,
biggest myth is that trans women, all of us want to have the surgery. That is not the case. Some of us, like I said, do not want to have it. And I'm not going to
yeah.
judge them. I definitely want it. And I'm going through my insurance to get it, which is so awesome. I'm like, so.
Well, I was just gonna say it's
So for
expensive,
trans
right?
women, it's 20 grand. Boston just
Wow.
started doing the surgery. I already have a doctor and everything. I don't have a date yet. So yeah, they actually flew to Sweden, learned from the Swedish doctors there who were the first people to perform transgender surgeries, came back with the knowledge. So they were starting. They've been performing the surgery since 2018 here in Boston. So for trans men, it's a little bit more difficult. First of all, they have to get double mastectomies, which is their top surgery. And their bottom surgery, they actually have to create a penis, which costs
Yeah.
$70,000. Some don't want to get the
Oh
surgery
my God.
because you have to change all that down there. Your
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, your plumbing has to change. And some trans men don't want to do all that. So some haven't done it. And that doesn't make
Yeah.
them less of men because they haven't had the surgery. So just wanted to give you a fuller picture because we don't talk about trans men at all. It's always about trans women, and I feel bad about
No,
that.
I
So
do agree
sorry,
with
my
that.
trans brothers, I love you. So
No, that's true. When that just made me, this is kind of unrelated, but it made me think of whenever I've joined like
mm-hmm.
LGBT groups, I swear like 80, 85% of that group
Mm-hmm.
was gay men. And then, but there's
Yeah,
just so much
yeah.
more to the community, but a lot of them would be like one group and it usually,
And I
yeah,
want to tell
was
you
gay
something
men.
that you're going to be shocked at. I
Oh, tell
actually
me.
get treated better as a trans woman by gay men than I ever did when I was a gay man by gay men.
All right, explain
I'm
if you
going to
want to.
guess it's because I'm no longer competition in their eyes. Whether they felt it, I could steal
Oh,
their man or not, I probably couldn't, but I just, there's such a, I also think that it's in vogue to have transgender friends. So I'm not saying my current friends. I've always had my current friends and I've always hung out with my current friends. But I've noticed some of my newer friends that want to hang out with me constantly. Not yourself. That no, not you. But I mean like my other friends, I
yeah.
feel like yeah.
I've been outed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, wrong. That was not
Wait,
the right
hold
word.
on. No.
That was the
I
worst
was like,
word to
wait,
use.
hold on. But some of my other friends, it's almost like I was the token black gay. Now I'm the token black trans. And I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Hmm.
Lovely. But they don't treat me like, I don't know. I don't know. They're not really friends. They're like my acquaintances, I will say. Yeah, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
downgrade that because I don't want to. Yeah.
I got a
So,
lot of those.
but yeah, I noticed that. I just get like treated a little bit better as a trans woman. So I'm okay with that.
That is it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I mean
Mm-hmm.
you're the same person. So it's like that there shouldn't be that change. Or I mean it's good if
Right.
people are treating you better, of course, but yeah, that's not right if you're the same person and they knew you before
Well,
and after
and thinking about it out loud
transitioning.
with you, maybe I'm not the same person. I'm thinking, and just hear me out here, maybe this
Okay.
me is actually the real me. The other me was me putting up a wall. I don't want people to know, blah, blah, blah. So maybe
Mm,
they're attracted to the shine, the self acceptance, the glow. I've been told I have a good aura, and I don't know if I've ever been told that before in my life. Um, so maybe that's it.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes them
that too.
sound better.
But seriously, I think that because you know what I almost feel like? I feel like that girl in high school that was like a nerd, and then all of a sudden I came back from summer break and I'm like discovered makeup and hair, and I grew boobs because that's literally what happened.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of feel that way. So it's like, oh, I'm popular. So okay, sorry, I went off a tangent. You have more questions. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
uh,
Don't worry.
sure.
I kind of had, and just a quick note, I kind of had that moment when I was bigger and then I lost the weight.
Yeah,
I felt on top of the world.
it's
I
and
was getting
it's
compliments
weird to
left and
be that
right.
person because you've always dreamed of being that person, and then when you are that person, you're like, "Ooh, this feels weird."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, it did.
yes, dear.
So, so another question was, what are your thoughts on when to disclose to your partner that you
So
are trans?
personally, I disclose upfront right away. Especially on
Okay.
dating apps, I make it my first number one thing that I put in my dating app. In person, I'm rather shy. So if I get hit on in person, I figure, well, this guy can tell from my voice that I'm trans. And if he can't, I've never actually encountered a guy that's asked me on a date in person. But I don't know what I would do. I'd probably freeze up, I guess. Um, but I've actually. So let me just rewind it back a little. Back in the
Yeah.
day, any movie, any book, any television show, if you, or even when you're reading reports online, if you see a trans woman is murdered, back in the day, it's because she didn't disclose. And the guy freaked out, and it's called trans panic. He freaks out when he finds out she's transgender
Hmm.
because she didn't disclose to him, so he kills her. And everyone's like, "Oh, she should have said something. She should have said something." Nowadays, don't give me that shit. Trans women are much more open and honest. And I have a fear that if I don't disclose, I will be one of those statistics. And people will say, oh, it's because she didn't disclose, even though all my friends know I disclosed to everybody. So that's kind of why I started being open to kind of break that myth. So that if anything ever happened to me, people are like, well, she was always honest with everybody. So this guy must have been crazy. He probably killed her because of his own reasons,
Hmm.
not because she's trans. So,
Well, to kind of talk on the other side too, because I really like I looked over these questions too, and I really tried to think about um, people like
Mm-hmm.
yourself that would disclose at the beginning, and maybe people that don't disclose
Mm-hmm.
right at the beginning and they kind of wait a little bit longer. I wanted to, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to understand both sides. And I mean, I started maybe like years ago, I would have thought, oh, like that
Mm-hmm.
person should tell you up front. But then I started thinking it's just it's personal information that I can see why someone would be
Right.
nervous to say it right at the beginning, and that they would need some time to work that, because I think about, and like I said, this is all open and
Yeah.
honest conversation, so we'll just
Mm-hmm.
get stuff out of here. Tech I mean, I myself technically, God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I technically never fully
Mm-hmm.
went through intercourse. And that's something I don't always want to
Okay.
say like right at the beginning. Like that's something that, it's just it's personal information. I kind of consider like disclosing personal information in a way that, it's nerve like you have to kind of come up with, like, you want to communicate it to your partner. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to come up with how
Well, so
you're
your
gonna do it.
situation is different, and I'll tell you why. Being transgender,
Yeah.
everybody knows if you don't disclose, you will die. Period. End of story. And that's not like me being like overly protective of myself or trying to like be overly cautious. That's the truth. There was a comedian, I want to say 2 years ago, Little Duval, look him up. He said, if I'm hooking up with a woman and she comes out as trans, I'm going to choke her to death. He said that on the radio. So there's that culture out there.
Ew.
I understand that trans women feel I can't tell my partner because this guy might love me for who, like, he's gonna love me for who I am. I'll tell him after. Frank, I get it. But my point, take out the trans part, you're not being honest with your partner. You not being honest with your partner about your sexual experience is not gonna get you killed. Me not being honest with my sexual identity will get me killed. Be fucking honest up front. You know what I mean? Like, your life depends on it. I
Yeah.
have so much to do in my life. There is no guy on the planet worth dying for. I'm sorry. If you don't like me because I'm transgender, we don't need to go on a date. If you if I feel like I can't tell this guy that I'm trans or he's not going to like me, then I need to find a new guy because there is going to be a guy that will like me even if I come out to him the very first day. There's love for everybody. I mean, Carol
Yeah.
Baskins has 2 husbands, for crying out. 3 husbands. She's gotten married 3 times. So,
I still
oh yeah.
I gotta
Joe
watch that
Exotic has
still.
had 5 husbands. Everybody can find love, people. You don't need to settle on the hot guy who doesn't know you're trans. So, I tell right up front is the answer. I believe that that's the best answer. Not just to save your life, but do you really want to get into a relationship with somebody that you're lying to? Period. You're telling a lie to the person you want to be in a relationship with.
Yeah.
Forget that it's trans. You're just telling a lie. Period. You want to start with honesty. Be honest. That's all. Yep.
All right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so next question is, when is it okay, if it's okay, to ask about someone's
I
genitals?
personally feel like everybody else has their own threshold. I personally feel two things. One, don't ask me up front. You ask me up front, I'm thinking that you're looking for sex, and I'm not looking for sex. But having said that, I think it's 100% appropriate if you are planning to have sex with that person to ask that. And you can phrase it like, listen, I'm into you. I want to take this relationship further. I've never asked you this question, but I would like to know Um, have you had bottom surgery? Are you looking to have bottom surgery? Where are you in your transition? Or you can just simply ask, where are you in your transition, in your physical transition? But you want to wait until you have a relationship with that person. So I've come out day one. You know I'm transgender. We're going on dates. I haven't brought it up. You're like, all right, I want us to be a couple. But in a relationship, I have sex with my partner. Where are you in your physical transition? And I'm going to tell you. Because at that point, I can be honest with you and I'm okay with it. The fear, obviously, is he's not going to like my answer and I'm going to be dumped. But you take that risk every day. I mean, even a 40-year relationship you can walk away from. So just be honest. Like, it's fine. So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, let me.
No,
Oh no, I was gonna say you finish your thought.
You ask about that. I feel like you ask about the physical genitals and all that stuff at the same time you ask about sexual partners. If you're about to ask somebody about sexual partners, then move that question on in too. So I don't see, then it becomes your business, you know? Mm-hmm.
Because my follow up with that was, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'd be the same way. Where if I was in a relationship, that's when I would, think about like sex more and everything. But I know there's people out there that have sex
Mm-hmm.
before entering a relationship. So could this be something that people are asking before the sexual act? Or are you saying strictly this
I'm
should be
saying
like a
whenever you're
relationship
ready to have sex with that person
thing?
is when you ask. When you both, and that person may
Yeah.
not be on the same
Okay.
page as you. So you're thinking we're hooking up, and I'm thinking we're working into a
Yeah.
relationship, and you're like ready to ask me that question. I'm gonna be like, fuck you, bye, bye, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
very good.
it
Yeah,
definitely takes good
the thing
communication,
about
not
being
just
transgender is just be on both sides. Just be open. Unfortunately or fortunately, it requires more communication. And I know guys, listen, cisgender hetero guys, dumb. Let's just put it out there. They just want easy breezy, beautiful cover girl type of relationships where you eat, you have sex, you shower, you sleep, and do it all over again the next day. That's all they want. Eh,
some.
most.
I was some of them.
Okay, fine.
I'll
Most.
defend a
I'm
couple.
not gonna say all. Most. And when you're with somebody who's trans, it's different. It requires a little bit more patience and communication and kindness, and you got to think about all this stuff because when you're dating somebody transgender, you can't take them to Jamaica. If somebody in Jamaica sees that your girlfriend is trans or your boyfriend is trans, the police in Jamaica will be in on trying to kill them. You can't take us to North Carolina because we can't use the public restrooms there. So you're giving up a lot. You have to really understand what you're getting into before you're dating somebody transgender. It's not just about being, and I know one of the questions, so I'm probably leading into it. We're not just a fetish. We're not something that you mark down on your, oh, okay, bucket list, have sex with a trans person. Some of us might be, but Emmy's not. And most of us aren't even looking for sex. We're looking for love. We only have sex because we think that that's going to bring us to love. So just be mindful.
I agree.
Yep.
We will go a little bit more in depth with the fetish thing after another commercial break. So we will be right back. And welcome back to Let Me Be Frank. So we left off on Emmy had mentioned that
Mm-hmm.
transgender people could be viewed as a fetish. And my question was, have you met a lot of people that view
Mm-hmm.
dating trans men, trans
Um,
women as a fetish?
yes, and I didn't go on a date with them. I just talked to them online or on the dating app.
Yeah.
And how you can spot them is they say, well, I only date trans women. I've only ever dated trans women. Okay, buddy. So you're making the rounds. I'm new in your circle, and no. Bye bye. You can move on. Maybe one of my sisters will be desperate enough for you.
Mm.
Um, or they're like, and this is dead serious, Frank. I'm married, but I've always wanted to have that fantasy of being with a trans woman. So if you're down,
Oh,
I'm like, I
oh
guess
my
I'm
God.
up. You can be down, I'll be up. Okay. So, yeah, bye bye.
I'll be
And
up and out
another
of here.
thing, I just want everybody to know,
There's,
if you are
yeah.
trans and you're listening, please, please, please do not meet a stranger at his house. Don't invite him to your house. He doesn't just want to cuddle and watch a movie. Don't do that, because you don't know this person's intention. This person is a stranger, and you're going to their house. They could have cameras in the wall. They could have a buddy next door in the next room ready to beat you up or hiding in the closet. Or they could come to your house and you're stupid enough to say, oh, yeah, I'm alone in the house. Why don't you come on over? Like, hello, don't do that. I I know from experience, because I was dumb enough to say something like that and then thought, oh my God, why am I saying that to this person? I was smart enough not to give them my address, but yeah, I'm overly cautious when I date.
Yeah.
Actually, mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna say I am too, not even being trans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's just
I
scary, the
haven't had that
stories
in
and stuff,
years.
especially on
And when I
Grinder.
did, is when I met the fetish married guys. And when I met
Same.
um, I think those heterosexual cisgender guys, and I say those because it's a small amount, I think they think I'm desperate or stupid, because they'll say stuff like, well, it always starts the
Mm.
same. You're so pretty. Oh, thank you. So what are you looking for? Oh, a date. Oh, I'd love to take you on a date. Oh, really? Cool. Where would you like to take me? Well, first, can I see a full body picture? The second they say that, I'm
Oh my
gone.
God.
A full
Well, I
body
would be too.
picture. Can you send
That's
me
so annoying.
something where you're in something sexy like lingerie or something? What about a swimsuit? What about your bra and pants? Like, they go off, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And I talked to my cisgender hetero female friends, and they're like, yep, they do that to us too. So it's like a hetero cisgender guy thing.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean I've gotten similar messages in a
Mm-hmm.
way, not necessarily always like full body or anything.
Yeah.
I've also got some really out there ones. I'll
Mm-hmm.
share one because you just don't forget it type thing. But it was either Grinder, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of Fish. I try not to have those two anymore because of things like this. But there was a guy. So I've there's been a there's
Yep.
been a handful of times I've been offered money
Yep.
for certain to do certain things to see like just certain because yeah because that's definitely my job or something no but this one guy he long story short he really wanted to like tie me down and tickle me and he offered me 2 grand to do that and a small part of me like because I was younger was like, ooh, maybe it's the money, but no, like
Mm-hmm.
it's safe. Kids do not. Well, God, I hope kids aren't being asked that. Adult, please do not just agree to random strangers' requests.
And to Frank's point, when I first came out as trans, I had a guy tell me, listen, I'm divorced and I am looking for a trans wife. So if you want to, come live with me, quit your job, I'll buy you a car, I'll give you a credit card and pay all your bills. I'll even pay for your transition for you. And I'm not gonna lie, a bitch thought about it. But but the fact that I would be tied to somebody
Yeah.
that would never let me be me, because he didn't want to be with me. He wanted to be with a trans woman. He
Yeah.
didn't care about me as a person. He wanted to be with a trans woman. That's why I ultimately said no. I have goals in my life that I want to accomplish and things I want to do. And one of my goals is to be self-sufficient, whether I'm with a partner or not. So for him to say that to me, he clearly has no idea who I am and doesn't care. He just wants a trans woman on his arm. So yeah, ladies, think before you do, because you're going to be stuck with a guy like that for the rest of your life. And when I say that, let's say you do go with him, you get your surgery, and then you bounce on him. You're going to always remember somebody else paid for your surgery. You didn't earn it yourself. So just think about that. So,
That's a good point.
yes. So,
So I'm not as into celebrity gossip and
okay.
everything, but there was an incident a while back where Tyga was dating Kylie Jenner
Mm-hmm.
and he allegedly cheated on her with a trans model named Mia Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't just shamed for cheating on her, but he was shamed for being with a trans woman in general. So my question is, why do you think some people are still transphobic?
I think especially in the, I say dark skin community because it includes Hispanic people.
Mm,
There is such a hyper masculinity that comes with being in that culture, being in those two cultures. There's been a lockdown. We've been quarantined, yet 3 trans women were killed in Puerto Rico. 2 of them were shot in a car, probably because they were trying to hook up with someone, but whatever, they were still murdered. One of them was shot and killed in a bathroom. So like, there's still I think that the hyper masculinity is so prevalent in those two communities. And I will venture to say it's not that prevalent in the white community. White guys are more, even cisgender hetero white guys, are a little bit more accepting of trans women. I get hit on mostly by white cisgender hetero men, mostly. I will
mm.
probably end up with one as my husband and the father of my unadopted kids. Speaking of which, happy birthday, Jonathan Scott and Drew Scott, his twin brother. Speaking of my future husbands, yeah, there's just such a stigma. And like we had said before, people think if you are born a man, you will always be a man. And if you
Yeah.
are transitioning, you're still born a man. And somebody put this out, and I don't want to say that I 100% agree because it's really not the same. People have said 2 things. So if I was a child at one point and I became an adult, then you're a child molester because I was once a child. That's kind of different because everybody grows up from being a child to an adult, unless they're, murdered or have some weird condition. So, I mean, I get their point. They also said, you can't tell me, and I agree with this more. If somebody is heavy and becomes skinny, are you going to still call them a fat person? Are you going to still say they're overweight? You're not going to say that. I agree with that more. And it's true. So I think people just regurgitate what they hear their friends say. They're not having their own original thoughts. Because if they thought about it, like, even for example, what is, like, let's say, and I'm not going to ask you to officially say it, your birth
Okay.
name is Franklin. You tell people to call you Frank. If somebody calls you Franklin, even though you introduced them, you said my name is Frank, you'd be pissed. I told you my name is Frank. And they would say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Your name is Frank. If somebody tells you that they're female and my name is Emmy, why the heck would you say, oh no, I saw your birth certificate. You're a man, you're David. Who the fuck are you? like,
And there's definitely people that do that
right,
too.
right. But those are also the people that I say to them, when you say stuff like this, other people can hear you. Number one. One of
Yeah.
them might be your best friend who's standing right next to you, agreeing with you, but inside they are struggling with their own gender identity. Because you said this and you got them on this soapbox, they're never going to come out to you. So they're either going to harbor hatred for trans people because they're jealous of us, or they're going to harm themselves because they can never come out because they feel guilty about it. So, I mean, being transgender, being LGBTQ plus, it's not a, okay, if you drink this soup, you're going to be LGBTQ, you know, anybody
Yeah,
can
no.
be it. Anybody can be one of us. Just be careful what you say. Or there's that old saying, thou who protests too much. I mean, you're probably struggling yourself, pal. So telling more about yourself than we could ever. But yeah. So I think that's
All
the
right.
reason. It's just hyper masculinity.
Yeah.
So, and
No, no.
before we move on, there are a lot more people in Hollywood that date trans women that are not public about it. We'll talk
I've heard
offline.
that.
We'll talk offline, girl.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I can. Well, we can do. We have some extra time, but well, a little bit. But yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, I don't know how true it is or not, but I've definitely heard like athletes, especially,
Mm-hmm.
were one. Yeah, I obviously like I'm not gonna try to
We're
like
not naming
assume
names.
or
Nope.
out people. Or, yeah.
Mm-mm. Because what we want to achieve at one point, and one of my brother-in-law asked me this, and he is very open-minded. I mean, does he sometimes call me by my birth name? Yes, but he feels guilty about it. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. One of my
Mhm.
friends, James, was on my podcast on Sunday, and the thing he said that I loved, he said, it's the effort. As long as, if somebody gets your pronoun wrong or your name wrong, but then they show that they're trying to make an effort, the effort is probably so satisfying. Like, you are absolutely right. When someone says, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," that means more to me than any mess up they have. But one question that he said to me was, "Why are there so many characters and stuff surrounded by LGBTQ people? I feel like you people are throwing it in our faces." And I said, "Well, the reason
Mhm.
why we're doing that is because we want it to eventually be the norm." What I mean by that is that we want to flip on a TV, you see a gay character, and you're just like involved in the story. You don't care that that character's gay or not. You're either crying with the character or laughing with the character, but you're involved in the story of this character. We want to normalize LGBTQ people so that it's no longer an issue when I walk down the street and you see a trans woman who has a beard and you're like confused by that. Or you see two women walking down holding hands and they go into a bakery to buy a wedding cake. It's not a problem anymore. That's why we're all in your face right now. We're trying to normalize it so that it's not a problem in the future. So,
Yeah, my to go along with that
mm-hmm,
too. I One thing that I hope can change over time because I feel like with shows and stuff like that,
mm-hmm,
the characters who aren't straight, they're always at least half the time they're always having to come out
Mm-hmm.
in these stories and stuff. And I want to watch something someday when there's two guys or two girls are just sitting there and they don't have to explain
Mm-hmm.
that they're together, and it's just happening because, like you said, like this is something that's normal, and like we should treat it that way.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that I'm a writer, and I thank you for that. You mentioned plugging my books.
We'll
Okay,
do another plug-in at the
I
end of
appreciate
things.
it. One of the things that I asked my favorite boss in the whole world, I asked him, I said, "Hey, Jay, I have a question for you. When you're watching a movie and it's a gay love story, how would you want it laid out?" Now, Jay is like the most heterosexual man you ever want to meet. What I mean by that is he's comfortable in his own skin. He could give me a hug and it's not a problem. He could, I mean, he's not going to slap my butt, but he could give me a hug and he's not going to be like, oh, that weirded me out or anything. He
Yeah.
said, I want to see a story where one character is gay and the other one is struggling with it. They want to see that struggle. They want to see, they don't, I think what he was saying was he wants to be explained. He wanted somebody there to explain stuff. And what I mean by that is I think everybody likes a fish out of water story. So Julia Roberts in Notting Hill was this Hollywood celebrity who falls in love with a local Englishman. Well, we liked it because we want to visit as Americans England, and we love English men, some of us. And we want to know what it was like to be a stranger in a strange land. And I think that that's what his point was. Whether the character ended up gay at the end or not, I think he just wanted an explanation into the quote gay world unquote. And stop calling what we have
Okay.
a lifestyle, people. We don't wake up in our LGBT homes, in our LGBT beds and LGBT sheets, and put on our LGBT clothes. That's not. It's not a lifestyle. It's just a sexual,
Break out my little
right?
crown.
I mean, I may have a crown I change up every day, but that's neither here nor there. That's a personal thing. It's not a,
The last crown I think I dug up was the Burger King one when I was a kid.
Okay, that Burger King guy is creepy. I don't ever want to be
That
associated with him.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
what? Yeah, let's not get carried away. That could go into a whole nother
him and the
discussion.
Riverside guy or the Six Flags guy. Ooh, creepy. But
Oh, I liked him.
creepy. Sorry.
All right, but we
Yes, we
digress. I love that word, by the way. I learned that in my philosophy
And
class.
you can't.
Sorry, I'm gonna digress again.
You can't use it too often, so it's like a treat when you get to use it.
I know.
So,
But
yeah.
anyway, anything else? Because we're towards the end of the show now. Anything else that you would want people listening now to know about dating someone who's trans? Because I know I've definitely learned a couple things
Good.
I didn't know.
I just want you to know that if it's confusing for you to understand, to try to understand, being trans and not wanting the surgery, being trans and, being a trans woman and liking other trans women or liking other women, or if you're confused, imagine how we're doing when it's our lives. We don't have it together. Just because I am a trans woman who dates men doesn't mean my life is figured out. Like, I'm struggling with stuff. So if you're confused, just imagine how we are. That's all. Take a little bit more time, be honest. And to my trans brothers and sisters, be honest. What have you got to lose? Your life. Just be honest, please. And I will say this, as a trans woman, I like the fact that I don't have to pay for dinner.
You have to throw that in there.
I'm sorry. It's so new to me. And so the first time I went on a date as a trans woman, the guy's like, oh, okay, so let's go. I'm like, wait, where's the check? He's like, I got it when you're in the bathroom. I'm like, wait, but I didn't pay. He's like, you don't have to. I'm like, wait, hold on. going on? You know, I'm still not used to that. So
I'm sensing in the future some future topics that could go into dating and everything for us. I think we could have
yeah.
fun with that. But I want to just say thank you so much, Emmy, for being on today's episode and the very first episode of Let Me Be
Thank you
Frank.
for having me. And it comes out on my birthday. What?
Yes,
My
it does.
quarantine birthday.
Um, and and I didn't get to warn you about this before, but um, you can share your social medias or
Oh,
any of that's your websites, anything like that.
so Instagram, Facebook, page, and Twitter and Snapchat, MS Emmy Morgan. So Ms. Emmy Morgan. And I just started it, my new social, the Miss Emmy Morgan. Long story short, I just wanted to change the content I was putting out there. So it's kind of brand new, restarting it all.
Okay.
Follow me. I make you laugh. I try to, when I repost somebody else's stuff, I try to tag them in it and give them credit. If I don't give them credit in the repost, it's because they have a tag in there in the video, so, or the picture. So, but yeah, that's it. Like Frank said, you can buy my books wherever you buy ebooks, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you, hon.
you. I also want to, of course, I also want to thank today's sponsor, Anchor. It is this just amazing podcasting app. You'll probably hear the ads throughout those commercial breaks. That's what that's all about. So, and you could also private message me if you want more info on that. And I just want to thank each and every one of you listening. It just means the world to me. And Emmy is part of the reason that inspired this whole
Aww.
podcast. At the end of the day, I just kind of needed I needed a
Mm-hmm.
baby. And I love this baby so far, and I hope it
Mm-hmm.
keeps going. So, on that note, I hope everyone has a great day and
Bye,
take care.
everyone.
Bye bye.